Hello and welcome to the Game Design Archive with Edvard and Ludwig, episode 14. Today,
Hello.
hello. Today, we're gonna talk about why you do have time for hard games. Ludwig.
Yes. So, recently, we all know Hollow Knight Silksong was released. And there's been a lot of discussion about how hard it is and how good or how bad the fact that it is hard is. And one thing I see a lot in this discussion that triggers me a bunch is that the people who seem to be on the side that Silksong is too hard, always keep saying or like implying or whatever that hard games are a waste of time. So you'll often see like, oh, I have a job, I don't have time to play a hard game, or like, I have a life outside of playing video games. I can't spend all my time redoing content, right?
I don't know if that's true either.
Well, they do say it.
Yeah, I know, but
I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't even know. To be honest with you, I don't even think the people that's the people that.
Oh,
are
you
saying
mean
it.
that way? Yeah.
Yeah, I think
True,
the people
true.
that are saying it is the people that are wasting even more time on video games,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Probably.
However,
I mean, I
that
don't
is
know.
beside the
but
point.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they're
but
spending.
yeah.
I guess they're not playing games. They're spending their time discussing stuff online, which is.
Yeah.
I guess they're right. They're not playing video games. They're wasting their time even harder.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
So, what I want, like the big takeaway of today's discussion to be, is that, redoing, quote unquote, which I'll get to later, content is not a waste of your time. Like redoing content because it's hard, because like you died and you go back to the checkpoint and then you do whatever's between the checkpoint and the place you died again.
I see. So you're not talking about the thing you're stuck on, even, because I think people
Exactly.
are arguing that as well. That is redoing, which I disagree with. Like
Well,
the boss.
You could argue that like, yeah, the point you got to the boss. I guess it's sort of the same thing, just like even more zoomed in.
Maybe, but yeah, but like, sort of. How should I say this? Like, if you're stuck on, let's say there's a move on the boss and you can like sort of dodge it, but you take damage from it or whatever. And then you will argue, well, I kind of beat it, so I wanna go on, right?
Yeah.
But that's not redoing, right? That's doing to me, because
Yes.
you haven't understood it. Like, even to be honest with you, even most of the time when you beat stuff in most games, it wouldn't be redoing really. Like I mean, you have done it, right? But it's silly term. But but like what I mean is you
gotten past
won't
it.
say that again.
Yeah, you go ahead. You've
Yeah,
gotten past it, but like not. You don't understand it. I guess.
Yeah. What I mean is, like, if you go back and play the game again, you're gonna be stuck again. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
So you haven't like figured out how to deal with it. You just, maybe you had like good RNG, or you were like happened to stand in the right spot or whatever, right? At the right time.
Or you just tank the final attacks.
Right, but if you
You know,
if you can redo it, then you can redo it, right?
Yeah.
So what I mean is, like, you barely made it through, and like you didn't understand enough to do it again, which is most of the, like, you'd be surprised, like how, like you would think you like, you would think you can just redo stuff when you've beaten them, but like, I think it takes run-based games to realize that, I guess, which we'll get to later. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we could probably move on to that right away. Or well, because there's yeah, let's do it. Okay, so here's the thing. Like we've talked about this before. There's sort of like a scale where between like run-based and checkpoint-based games, right?
Yeah.
So in a run-based game, the most extreme form of a run-based game is a game where you play from start to finish everything, like without checkpoints or saves or respawning or healing or anything.
I mean, there
or
might
you can
be
have healing, but
some stuff
yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah, but like the most pure form of a run-based game. And then
I mean, you could
on
argue
the other end,
games with lives, you're respawning, right? But
true,
but
true.
on the same spot. So
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I don't think resources necessarily is a problem. I think it's more, or like outside the definition, I think it's more like there is no point you can go back to infinitely, basically.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the checkpoint-based games, where if you fail at something, you go back to a checkpoint and then you do that thing like in isolation.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite examples of like an actually difficult checkpoint-based game is Celeste, because Celeste has like these one-screen rooms where like if you do the room, like you won't have to do the room ever again.
Yeah.
But if you fail during the room, you'll have to redo it, right?
Yeah.
And so it has a lot of checkpoints, but it's also hard.
Yeah. It's also
but anyway,
right?
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So
you
like
can have
like
somewhere in
Demon
between.
Souls or whatever, where it's like you have to redo the entire area until the boss.
Yeah.
Which is it's still checkpoint based, but it's like
yes,
less.
It's sort of a
tight
hybrid
checkpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and so the point I want to make by bringing this up is that there is like, it seems that listening to this discussion about like, oh, having to redo content is a waste of time. It seems like there's sort of an aversion to run-based games, but as we've sort of already mentioned in this episode, it's like there is something meaningful about redoing something that you've gotten past already, because just because you've gotten past it doesn't mean that you understand it fully, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important because, I think we've mentioned this before on previous episodes. It's like modern games generally tend to be very checkpoint based. Celeste is a perfect example because it's like, it's super hard. Like every like room is super hard, but once you've finished the room, you move on. And it's not necessarily bad. It's just a different kind of game. But one problem that you get with that is that if I were to replay Celeste after I beat it the first time, I don't think I would do that much better. Like, I would definitely be better than the first time, like if in the early game or whatever. But like, since I only needed to beat every challenge once, I don't really have true mastery of the challenge.
Yeah,
I just got past it, right? And this is what a run-based game sort of solves. Or well, it's not really a problem, but it's a different perspective, right? It's like, if you want to get to the end, you need to keep redoing a bunch of the stuff that you've already beaten, and that's interesting because you find that you like become better at everything over time.
Yeah. And I mean, again, we've talked about it before, but I still think if you have run-based stuff, there should be practice stuff.
Yeah.
Not necessarily mandatory, because it works for some games to not have it, I think, but especially when it's really hard, like if it's a really hard run-based game, you need to have some practice tools.
Yeah. I think what did you want to say, something?
Yeah, no, I guess like a good example of that is like a lot of arcade games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is run-based, because you put in money and you get more lives. And so they want you to keep going. But these days, most of those are emulated, so you get sort of the practice tools you need, right? Because simulation, you can jump to wherever.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like with those games, people still just acknowledge like you beating them if you beat them in one go, right?
Yeah. Like the 1cc.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, and one more thing about it, the mastery thing is definitely part of it, but I think for me as well, like I think we talked about this last week even, maybe the week before that. We've probably talked about it more than once, and that is the frustration, or like not frustration, like the I guess frustration and tension. So like, a short. I mean, it's a balance between how hard it is versus how long it is. But if you can make something really easy, really hard and stressful by making it very long, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of another I don't know what
like
to call
in a run-based context. Sorry, just to
or
clarify.
I mean it doesn't have to be. It could be a checkpoint that's really long as well, right?
Yeah.
But
then
in
it's like
in run-based games, that's usually like you get that implicitly, right? But so with a checkpoint game, you can do it, right? You do this thing that's like sort of hard, but not really. But you have to do it for a long time, which makes it harder, right?
Yeah. And I think a good point about that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, just a final thing there is that I think, like you said, it's very common these days for the short checkpoint-based challenges, which there is nothing wrong with. I think those challenges are really nice as well, but the other part of it is sort of like dismissed or whatever. Like no one does. I mean, no one is taking it too far, but most people ignore longer challenges, or at least they don't acknowledge them. Maybe they do them, because I feel like if we look at like, I don't know, maybe Hollow Knight or something, I probably have some longer boss fights or whatever that has that a bit, right?
Yeah, and doesn't Hollow Knight have like a permadeath mode too?
Yeah, it does.
Which obviously is optional, right? So, but some people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how well that works in that game, but
yeah, true.
yes, sorry, your turn.
Yeah, so
I've been ranting.
One other thing about like run-based games that I want to like make extra clear is that it forces you to become consistent, right?
Yes.
And that's a very, very good feeling when you're playing a game, when you feel like you're consistent at something. Because I mentioned it briefly before, it's like often when you're doing like a boss fight, you'll like do it a few times because you keep dying. Like we're talking about a hard boss fight here.
Yeah.
You'll have to retry a few times, and then like by the time you actually beat the boss, you only really have a good understanding of the first like half or 3/4 of the boss, and then the last part of the boss you kind of tanked because you had like a bunch of resources left or something like that. And you know, in a checkpoint-based game, that's it. Like you beat the boss, you only understand half of it, and then the other half you tanked, and then you move on and never think about the boss again.
Yeah.
But like in a run-based game, you need to be consistent, right? You kind of become consistent automatically over time because you keep redoing the boss. And so what ends up happening is that as you play the game more and you get further and further and further, as you sort of revisit the first few bosses or the earlier bosses in the game, you notice that you get a lot more consistent at doing them, and you'll often find yourself doing them perfectly even.
Yeah.
And you don't really get that with a non-checkpoint based game.
With a checkpoint based game, you mean?
Sorry, with a checkpoint based game, yes.
Yeah, that is kind of true, I guess. It depends a bit again, because there are checkpoint games where you have to perfect it. I guess you still don't master it because you got through. I'm thinking like Super Hexagon or something, right? Technically true. That's like super short, but you can't do any mistakes. I think that's because like having less resources is more interesting in checkpoint based games, I think, because you can ask more of the player. Whereas in run based games it's sort of the opposite, because the longer format, I guess. Yeah. Like it can be more lenient with what can happen, I think. And I think
exactly, because resource management is more valuable, I guess.
And it's also more interesting in a run based game. Because if it's not a run based game, it's either like, sure, you could argue you having like resources in the like some healing item or something, I guess. But most of the time you just farm those resources, right? Because most modern games are RPG style games. So it's not interesting at all. It's like, oh, you did the fight 5 times and now you're out of whatever you were using, right? Whatever buff or healing item you're using, and now you need to go farm. Yeah. That's not interesting at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I want to sort of take us back here to the main topic, because we've gone on a bit of a run-based tangent, but it is important to the topic. But, you know, going back to this, like, belief that people seem to have about, hard games wasting my time.
Yeah. You just reminded me of a point I wanted to say about what you just said, which is there is sort of an interesting parallel to reality in your. This is gonna sound a bit much or whatever you want to say, but hear me out. Okay.
We like pretentious.
Yeah, it's gonna sound pretentious, but like you like the mastery thing, like it's sort of like I feel like that is sort of missing a lot in a lot of modern stuff, because it sort of helps you in real life as well, right? Because that's how things work in real life.
Yeah.
You do the thing over and over again, right? Until you're good at it.
Yeah.
And for me, like that's sort of one of the ways I look at video games being valuable. The fact that it's so like in English you say play video game, right? Because you play a game. And what does that imply? It implies that like kids play, right? And why do they play? Well, they play to like make sense of the world, right? They're learning things in a safe environment, sort of, right? And I feel like this is sort of doing that as well. And I feel like a lot of the modern stuff actually teaches people a lot of bad habits, I guess.
Yeah.
About life in general.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's worth pointing out that like this actually helps you, in my opinion, like with other stuff as well, because you learn a bunch of stuff like managing your emotions or whatever, and like planning out whatever you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this now because I need to practice this part and blah blah blah, and that's applicable to whatever else you're learning, like real, in quotation marks, real skills, right? I mean, and then it applies to other hobbies as well. Like, let's say we always bring up music, but let's say you're playing the guitar or whatever, right? It's the same. You're like playing some sick guitar thing, right? And then it's like, oh shit, this part sounds bad, right? I need to practice this part. And then you go practice that part, and they're like, oh, okay, now it sounds better, but this part, right? Sort of the same thing. I don't know, sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very good point, and like one thing that, like, to sort of support your example or point, I guess, is that, this is gonna sound super pretentious, like even more pretentious than you were, but like a lot of game design today seems to be focused on like extrinsic motivation. Ooh. So it's like you do the thing and you get the shiny reward for it. And
yeah, that is very true.
And as you said, this sort of applies to real life too.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want people in real life to have that mindset? No, you want people to be intrinsically motivated, right? You want people to do things because they want to master them, because it's meaningful to master them. And I think the same applies to video games, but people don't really like seem to agree with that.
Yeah. And
they seem to think that like if I don't get the shiny purple axe for my warrior in World of Warcraft or whatever, it's a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can
except if you can grind for it for 100 hours, then it's not a waste of time, ironically.
Exactly.
But if you had to fight a hard boss for 2 hours, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That math doesn't add up.
Yeah. It's like like having the hard boss as an example, right? It's like you don't have the hard boss just for the hard boss's sake anymore, it seems like. You have the hard boss to give you a Steam achievement or something, right? It's like, no, just let the boss be hard, and then like that's the point of the game.
Yeah, and I mean we have already touched on it, but like the point of the boss being hard is not being like, oh, it's hard, you can't get past it. It's like you're supposed to, like you said, intrinsically like if you're intrinsically motivated, like you said, you'll be like, oh, this is interesting because like if I do it this way, that's gonna like it's sort of the skill you learn, which is not like completely applicable for on the real world, right? But it's like I mean, sometimes you could argue it is actually completely applicable. Like let's say you're playing like a RNG based game, right? Like a game with a lot of, I mean, I would say XCOM, but XCOM rigs the RNG, but you know what I mean, like that style of game where it's like, okay, you're dealing with a lot of statistics, right? That is completely applicable in the real world if you're doing like some sort of statistical analysis or whatever, right? On like if you're working with that stuff. So I think this stuff is more applicable to other stuff than people give it credit, right?
Yeah.
In the games where it's, you know, where it's actually asking anything of you. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but I think even in general, like, just learning to overcome challenges is meaningful.
Yeah.
So like, even if it's like, you know, an action platformer or whatever, that isn't maybe very applicable to anything specific in real life, though you could probably come up with something.
I think you can actually come up with more than you think about it, like... Yeah.
But like, even if there wasn't anything, you know, it's still meaningful to like have that mindset, I guess, to like...
Yeah, patience, you know, and like...
Exactly, patience and like...
Being methodical and...
Exactly, you know...
through the situation, keeping your calm when you do the thing.
Yeah. And like taking a step back and looking at it from a different angle and stuff like that.
Seeing what's wrong, where you can improve. Yeah, stuff like...
It's all meaningful.
Deep shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yes, let's go back to the
I mean, that is
the main thing that people... Yeah, but like, I wanted to a while ago, but we derailed again, but it's fine. So, you know, people don't want to waste their time, or they think that hard games are a waste of time because they need to redo stuff.
They want to waste their time.
Yes. But one important point that I want to make is that... and it's something that... what's it called? Derek Yu said, I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like... if you're always making progress, your actions don't matter, right? And I agree with that a lot, because you know, let's take a hard boss as an example, right? If you're always, no matter what you do, because the argument is that, you know, if I lose at the boss, I need to go back to the checkpoint and then I need to redo everything up until the point I died, and that's a waste of time because I've already done that once. But the problem with that is that if you're never losing progress, then your actions don't matter, right? Because no matter what you do, you'll progress. And then if no matter what you do, you'll progress, that means that, you know, you might as well just do nothing then, because the game is a waste of time in a way.
Yeah.
I explained that in a very convoluted way, but I'm sure you get what I mean.
I mean, I think it's that like, applies more to like a game where you're... I mean, it applies to what you said as well, but I mean, like, in the context he said that, right? Yeah. I think he's thinking more of games where it's... the game sort of has this list of things you need to do, and you do them, and the game will never, ever stop you from taking a step forward, right? Which means that as long as you're playing, you're making progress.
Yeah.
Which is the argument some people make, that they want that because otherwise they're wasting their time. But what I mean, we're quoting the guys, so maybe we're like misunderstanding him. But from my understanding of what he said, he's sort of implying that no, actually, it's the other way. If you're always making progress, that means what you're doing is just wasting your time because you're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
Which we sort of like, touched on earlier, I guess, a bit.
Yeah. There's like no uncertainty. There's no like... Exactly, because no matter what you do in the game, you will always progress.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's not really a point to playing the game.
Yeah.
And this actually brings me into something that we've discussed before a lot. And that's meta progression. And this, like, quote from Derek Yu was in relation to meta progression a bit. And I think I mentioned it before on the podcast. But my sort of theory for why meta progression is popular is exactly because of this. It's that you can have a game where you lose. You know, the perfect example of this is a roguelike, right? So they are a run-based game, right? You need to play from start to finish, and you need to beat all the bosses or whatever. But the thing that roguelikes nowadays often do is that when you die, when you lose the progress, you go back to like some overworld thing or whatever, and then there's this layer of meta progression.
Yeah.
And that means essentially that you aren't necessarily losing progress by failing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you might have died at the boss, but now when you've died at the boss, you've gained some resource that makes the boss easier the next time.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, you know, this isn't a quote-unquote waste of time.
Yep.
The problem with this, of course, is that, you know, going back to what I said before, if you're always making progress, your actions don't matter.
Yeah.
It's like, if I can just grind the boss until the meta progression makes me powerful enough to beat him, then there's no point in me fighting the boss. Like, the point of the boss is to be an obstacle that I need to overcome.
Yeah.
And if I automatically overcome it by just spending more time at it instead of actually improving at it, although they are often the same, but not always, it's like, then there's no point in really playing the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we're being a bit mean to these games. I agree with you, obviously, but I think there's still... Like, that's the meta progression in these games. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's probably different ones. I feel like it's sort of more of a psychological manipulation thing, and people are actually getting better, but they don't think.
Yeah, of course they are.
So
they are.
The games are actually, I mean, they're getting easier, which is bad. Like, it's not interesting,
Yeah.
but I think it's still challenging. But probably,
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't played all of them.
Like, there's levels of this.
Yeah.
There are some games that have meta progression
where
that's
it breaks
not too
all
bad,
the stuff, yeah.
and then some have where it's like completely over the top
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatever.
So I think, but I mean, I still think it's bad because it sort of creates this like false psychological incentive. I think it's actually, it's not nice. Is what I'm realizing. Like, it's not even that it's like, okay, that's cool, you can do that. It's like, it's sort of mean actually because of what we mentioned earlier. Like, it sort of ruins like, it manipulates you to do the thing, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why I don't feel... Because, like, if you have a game that's just wasting your time, that feels less bad to me. Because it's like, it's openly wasting your time. It's like, like cookie clicker or something. Like, you click the cookie and you get more cookies or something. And it's like, well, obviously this is not like, you know. Yeah, but if it's like, oh yeah, no, don't you want to do another round? Don't you want to do another round? You got some new, like, shiny thing. And it's like, I don't know. Psychological stuff. I don't like psychological stuff.
Yeah, me neither. And you know, one thing, I think I mentioned this before on the podcast as well. It's like, I think a lot of people are afraid of the feeling that you're never gonna be able to beat the game. You know, if there's a really hard game and you're like super stuck at the boss, you know, I feel it a lot of times. It's like, holy shit, this game is way too hard. I'm never gonna be able to beat this.
Do you really?
And it's like, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes if I play a hard game.
Interesting.
And
I don't feel that way.
But the thing about it is that it's obviously not true, right?
Yeah.
Because if you keep going at it, you're gonna beat it eventually because you're gonna get better and better and better. But I think this is sort of why meta progression is popular, because like, you never get the feeling of, wow, I'm never gonna beat this boss. It's too hard. It's like, if the boss is like super, super hard, you're like, okay, this boss is super hard, but if I just grind the meta progression, I'm gonna be able to beat it. Which is like, it's not the sort of mindset you want when playing games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to overcome the challenge. If there's a boss that's super hard, you want to improve until you beat the boss.
Yeah. So, I have a bit of a side rant here, if that's okay. And that's related to what you just said. And that is the time thing here, right? You said like, I will never beat this. This actually goes back to what we talked about real life skills, right? Because the brain, like at least my brain, but I would argue most people's brains, are really bad at estimating how long you've spent on things.
Yeah.
So people will say stuff like, I spent so much time fighting this boss. But like we mentioned earlier, like I didn't exaggerate when I said, they grinded 100 hours in World of Warcraft to get that item versus they spent less than 2 hours fighting that boss, right?
Yeah.
It's not an exaggeration. They literally did not spend more time than that because, especially with these like what do you call them? Like more mainstream games, it does not take like hours and hours and hours to beat bosses in these games.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you disagree? Like,
no, I agree.
I mean, sure, there's it's a bit mean to say that because obviously there's people of different skill levels, right? But let's say like we take a Dark Souls or whatever, like especially with all the builds or whatever you can do to make it easier. Like even if you're really bad, I don't want to put a number on it, but like, you know, maybe a couple of 100 hours, right? At worst.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a lot of time. Well, yeah, it is, but compared to what some people spend in like, you know, these grind fest games, it's not that much.
Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors. Yeah. So I don't know. And I also that's like the extreme case because like if you look on the average of beating Dark Souls is like 30-40 hours, right? First time, and that actually most of the time I would guess is a lot of the time it's wasted on like finding where to go as well.
Yeah.
So it's not even like it's not that bad, right? If you look at that.
Yeah.
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 Because like if we put that in perspective, like a bit of psychological stuff here, right? Or not psychology stuff, I guess, which is like a lot of the time people talk about, oh, you need 10,000 hours to get like to master something, right? Which shows how easy like these games actually are, right?
Yeah.
They're not. We're not talking about becoming the best football player in the world or whatever, right? We're talking about beating Dark Souls, and according to statistics, it seems like it takes less than 100 hours, right? Which would mean it's not that hard, right? Yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, but
no, but I get what you're saying. It's like, I guess people
like they misestimate stuff.
Exactly, they overestimate how much time they spend on hard video games.
Yeah, because it feels frustrating. So you're like, oh, I spent so much time on this, and it's like less than an hour, and then they go play some grindy game for 3 hours, right?
Yeah, because the time just flies by because you're like sitting there like drooling and I get what you're saying.
Which is actually a funny other aspect of it, which is it's gonna sound insane, but it's actually kind of why I like harder games as well, because they're not just like what do you say? Like they don't just not flipping those like things in your brain where you're like, oh, I'm getting like dopamine, and I'm like, it's like you need to think, you get frustrated, you need to think, and it's like time actually like time slows down. Sounds bad, but you like you have time to evaluate stuff more and not like and then you look at the clock and it's like, okay, shit, not like that, right? It's like, okay, I'm gonna like this might sound like super nerdy or whatever, but I would sit down sometimes and like, okay, 30 minutes, I'm gonna do this for 30 minutes now. I kind of don't want to. I mean, I want to, but you know, and I'm definitely gonna want to when I start because it's fun. But like, I'm just gonna practice this part that I am bad at in this game or whatever, right? Or I'm gonna beat this boss or whatever it is, right? And I'll just do that. And then like, if it's like I think this mindset is really valuable, especially when you're dealing with challenges that are way beyond what your skill level, right? So if you're dealing with something that's like close to how good you are now, then you can just grind out like playing the thing. But if it's like, okay, this thing is like quite a bit above my skill level in whatever game it is, right? Or it applies to real life as well, but we're talking about games, right? Then you need to like have more, I guess you need to think more about like, okay, I need to practice this part or whatever, right? And it sort of applies to round-based games more, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
I don't really understand what you mean. Like,
I don't know what I mean. I guess I mean that it's.
What was like the moral of the story? I guess.
The moral of the story is that hard games are fun.
Yes.
No, I don't know.
Well, I think maybe like I do agree with you that like time moves more slowly, I guess. But in a sense, a lot of times it also moves faster. And my favorite example of this is Super Hexagon. And that game, it's like it's each level is 1 minute long, right? Because you need to survive for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll find myself, you know, when I still hadn't beaten that game, I would go like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and play like maybe 5 or 10 tries on Super Hexagon, and it's like gonna take 10 minutes max because it's only 1 minute long, right?
Yeah.
And then I sit there and I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying, and like suddenly like an hour has passed and I'm like still still trying.
Yeah.
And
I guess this applies to so I think this is I know how to explain what I was saying now. So what you said there is perfect, because it's like that's why one of the reasons why checkpoint games are so popular, because that's the way you deal with checkpoint based games. You just go at the checkpoint until you beat the checkpoint. But with run based games, that's what I mean, right? You sort of need this approach where you're like, okay, let's say there's 5 stages or whatever, and it's like, okay, look, the boss on stage 4 has this super dumb thing, and I need to like play that for 30 minutes because I need to just figure out how to deal with that. And then you do that, and it feels great when you realize how to deal with it, right? And then next time you play a run, you're like, yeah, this boss on the 4th level is super fucking easy because I have practiced, right? That's what I meant.
Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah. That's actually sort of relevant to a rant that I wanted to have, so perhaps I'll go ahead with it. So, when I played Sekiro the first time, or I've only played it once, but when I played it, it was the first Souls game I ever played, first of all. So I was really bad at Souls games.
Is it the Souls game?
A FromSoft game, sorry then. It's my first FromSoft game. And so I was really bad at it, right? Because I didn't have any like legacy skill from any of the other games. And, you know, I'd never really played a Souls-like before it either. And when I got to Genichiro, the boss, he's like one of the earlier bosses. I think he's like the 2nd or 3rd boss.
So not when you die by him. You mean when you fight him for real? Spoilers.
Yeah, like the actual, because you spoiler alert, like in the first mission you die by him. Yeah, but yeah. I
mean, you can beat him.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
Yes, but that's
you still lose, I think, but you can beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Continue.
Anyways,
on the roof. I mean, know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you're actually the first Genichiro boss fight.
Yep.
Or the 2nd, I guess. It's like when I got to that point, because it's like the first actually hard boss fight in the game, right? The first few boss fights are like pretty easy. Like I could kind of tank my way through them with healing potions and stuff. But like that's the first hard boss fight in the game, and I got super stuck on it. Like,
no.
I know we just mentioned that like people often overestimate how much time they spend on that, on like things or like games.
Yeah.
But like I think I actually like sat for 3 hours in a row and like tried to beat him, and I didn't make any progress whatsoever.
Yep.
And the thing, so after those 3 hours, I was like, okay, fuck this. I'm obviously like completely clueless. I'm doing something wrong. Like there's no way that he should be this hard. Like because the previous bosses I had done in like 1 or 2 tries. Yeah. So I was like, I have to misunderstand something, right? There's no way he's this hard.
Yeah.
And so I actually looked up a video on someone beating him.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want to see what this guy's doing, because obviously I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And I checked the video, and he's like doing everything perfectly. He's dodging everything, he's blocking, parrying everything in perfect timing, whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? Of course this guy, like he makes it look easy. He makes it look easy, right? Mm-hmm. He's like super good at the game. I'm never gonna play like this. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I went to bed because it was late. And then I slept, and then I like probably didn't play for a few days. And then I went back and I like grinded a little bit, and then I did like half an hour sessions here and there and like grinded a bit to get better at him. And what I noticed when I finally beat him was that my gameplay was identical to the video that I watched. Yeah. It's like back, you know, after the first 3 hours when I was like, holy shit, this guy is parrying everything perfectly. He's reading the boss perfectly. He knows every move perfectly. There's no way I'm ever gonna play like this. Yeah. And it's like, oh no, wait, I actually had to play like this to beat him. Yeah. And now I play like this. Yeah. Like now I'm really good at the boss. I know him almost perfect. Yeah. And that's super, super, super interesting. It's like, that's like, I already sort of knew I played hard games, obviously, because I had the perseverance to like actually grind and get good at him. But like after I did that, I was like, okay, yeah, like this is what gaming is about in a way.
Yeah.
It's yeah, and the point I wanted to make with this whole story is that not making progress does not equal not making progress.
Yes.
It actually equals making progress, because you're always improving at the game.
Yeah.
So when I was stuck at Genichiro, I wasn't like progressing further in the game story or whatever. I wasn't exploring any more of the world. I was literally just going up to the Genichiro boss fight, fighting him, dying, and doing it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I wasn't making any progress like in that way, but I was making progress because I got better at the game.
Yeah.
And after I beat Genichiro, I actually found the rest of the game to be pretty easy, because like I realized that like that boss fight had prepared me for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Like the only boss fight that I had problems with after that was like the big monkey thing, because he's like super different. You don't really block him a lot
The
and
final
stuff.
boss?
No, the monkey that
Yeah, but not
throws
the
shit
final
and stuff.
boss.
No, he was easy.
Like 6 phases or something.
Yeah, it's long, but it's not too hard. Like I probably spent like an hour.
I probably spent more time on that one, honestly.
Ah, okay. I didn't.
I
Find
mean,
it
the
so-
monkey was. I did not like the monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. He's not a bad boss, but he's different from Genichiro, and so
I mean, I
started
like
with him.
the.
But anyways,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Did you do the fire boss that everyone hates?
No, I don't think.
Yeah,
I did. I didn't do any of the.
I like that. That one is probably my favorite in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone didn't like it because it wasn't the mechanics of the game. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, the point I want to make is that just because you're not progressing like further into the content doesn't mean that you're not progressing in the game, because you're getting better at the game, and that's meaningful.
Yeah. There's actually a very interesting point to make there, which is something I've seen among people. And this does not actually only apply to games, which is funny considering what we talked about earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you see it, so I see it everywhere, but in games as well. So I'm gonna take bullet hell shoot 'em up games as example, right? Where people will say stuff like, "Oh yeah, those games are cool, but I could never dodge those patterns or whatever," right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that applies for like that. It applies to again a lot of other real life things like, "Well, I could never play the piano that fast," or whatever, right? People will say stuff like that, and you know what? You know what funny thing about that? In that moment, when they say that, that is in fact correct. Their perceptions or whatever you want. I'm not a brain scientist. I don't know how this shit works, right? But like, I will start doing stuff, right? In a game, for example, a bullet hell game, I will look at the pattern and I will have no idea. It will look like noise on the screen, right? And I will just die, right? And maybe I'll play for an hour and I will be a little bit better at it, right? But I will still just die because my brain can't handle that. And I don't know what does it, if it's just time or sleep or whatever. But like over time, your perceptions, like how you look at things, you like start looking and like, I guess it's sort of like your brain starts recognizing things that it didn't, like it's not information overloaded. So like if you look at it the first time, there's so much going on that your response time essentially is slower. But when as you do it more and more, your brain starts like so like for example in a bullet hell, you start looking further and further away from your character because you have better control over your character, which means you have more time to react, which means the patterns get easier. But it's so hard to tell someone that says, "Oh, I can't do this," that yes you can, you just need to do it, because like their perceptions literally cannot do it at that moment, if that makes sense. Like they need to look at it for a long time to recognize that no, actually I like it's just I need to spend time or whatever, right, on it. And it's sort of the same thing with you like it's because like I didn't have as much trouble with Genichiro, and it's probably because I played more FromSoft games before, right? So I have more my perceptions are probably more trained to see how the animations move, right? They probably have like a way of how they do the animations. And So for you, it was probably like the way he swinged was like too fast, and like you needed some time to get used to to how he, like what the different movements meant or whatever, like how the tells right in his moveset. Because you hadn't done that as much before, probably, right? I don't know. I'm just And again, like this applies to everything. So like when someone says, "Oh, I can't play the guitar," right? I don't have the fingers for that. Well, no, you just need to like do it, because like you need to make like everything you do, even if you think it's just one tiny thing, it's like a million things. And you need to like master every single small like piece, and as you do that, you free up space for your brain to think about the other parts, which makes everything easier. And it's so hard to articulate this because what I just said makes no sense, but it's like super important to this point that like people that feel like, oh no, I can't do this or that, most things, I mean there are exceptions, right? We're talking like at the top of like stuff, right? You know, like 500 IQ or whatever. You know what I mean, right? Like stuff that's like beyond your limits. But most things, it's just about like spending the time, and you can look at the time again. Like with video games, especially, you have like Steam, and you have all these platforms that like you can see how much time you're spending, right? So you know, like, okay, it's like if you think, like you said, if you're playing against Genichiro, right? If you spend if you've spent 1,000 hours fighting Genichiro, you know what? Then maybe there's something wrong, right? But if you spent 10 hours fighting Genichiro, you're not even close to like, right? Like your limit of what you can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, because like we argued before, 10,000 hours is the limit of what you can do. Is the argument, right? So if you've spent less than 10,000 hours, you can in fact be better at it than you are right now. Yeah. Sorry.
I think what you mentioned in the beginning is a very good point. Like the patterns just look like noise.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this in like the first or second episode of the podcast, where it was like, you know, when you don't understand a game, it just looks like noise. And part of what's interesting about video games is that you get to understand the noise over time.
Yes.
It's like, as you get better, you learn what the noise means. And that's super, super interesting. And you don't get that if a game isn't hard.
Yeah, I mean, that is video games to me. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, it's important to have the noise, I guess.
Noisy games are good.
And you know, like, let's take this super long Genichiro example. Like, if it takes you, I don't know, 50 hours to beat Genichiro, which is like, I don't think anyone has ever spent 50 hours to beat him. Like, I don't think like that's way more than anyone would ever spend on beating. But of course, if you do take longer, that's fine. You know.
Yeah, because I mean, let's say if we take someone that has, because you have to think about that skills apply like over time. If you take someone that has literally never played a game, maybe they're gonna spend more than 50 hours. If they are put in front of Genichiro only and here you go, play until you beat this. It's probably gonna take like 300-400 hours at least, right? Yeah. Because they have no prior experience. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So like that's a good point. Like, it's like even if it takes 100 hours, 200 hours, like it's still meaningful time because you're still improving, you're learning new things, and you're like gaining a better understanding of the game. Yeah. And it's like gaining a better understanding, like mastery is in a way the end goal of playing a video game. Yeah. It's like you want to be good at it. And you know, you could say, oh well, I'm not instantly progressing beyond Genichiro, and thus he is a waste of my time. But it's like, if you could instantly pass like through Genichiro, even if you were bad at the game, then I would argue that that's the waste of time, because the game isn't expecting anything.
Yeah.
It's like, do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Which button you press, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just... You get what I'm saying.
Yes, I do. You mentioned a thing there that I want to bring up as well, which is that you said like, we talked about this person that has never played, right? This is a thing I see a lot, which is like, it doesn't necessarily apply to this. It's just, again, it does kind of apply to this, which is like, you'll have this player. I see it especially with shoot 'em up games, right? But even with other genres, where it's like you'll have this, in quotation marks, super player. That's like everybody talks about them like they're genetically some like god player because they can play the latest game on the hardest difficulty and taking no hits. And then they compare to themselves, and it's like, well, I can't do that. So obviously he's like genetically just better at shoot 'em up games than me. Which is like, again, if we go back to the hours, right? Because games are like cross, what do you say? Like skills are actually very transferable in gaming, more than people give it credit for, I guess. And I mean, if you're playing shoot 'em up games, obviously they are extremely, you know, what is like transferable between shoot 'em ups. So like, it's like, oh, I can't, like, this player is super player. I've played shoot 'em ups all my life, but I can't beat this thing. And it's like, this person probably has like accumulated, let's say they've accumulated 500 hours, which is still nice, right? So they're pretty good, but they're not like gonna do every game in one try, right? Whereas if you look at these super players, they probably played like, 10,000 hours, right? In total. So it's like, obviously they're gonna pick up the game and beat it faster than you, right? It's not like it's math, right? You're like, okay, this guy has played so much. Sorry, it's sort of like I just see this a lot, right? Where people talk about this stuff, where it's like, well, this person like has it naturally. It's like, no, this person has spent a lot of fucking time getting good at games, right? Don't discredit that, I guess, right? I mean, it applies to other things again. Sorry. Yeah, a lot of random rants. Sorry. Today.
I agree. No, it's relevant to the topic. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say about this, or should we move on to the final topic of the day?
Sure.
So, one of the, going back to the beginning of the episode, this was originally about how hard Hollow Knight Silksong was, right?
We haven't talked about Silksong a lot, which is fine.
Yeah. But one of the things that people complain a lot about, perhaps reasonable complaints, are the runbacks. And so, for those of you that don't know, runbacks is essentially like if you die at a boss, like the section between the checkpoint and the boss, that's the runback. So like if there's a section where you need to run a bit and like do a bit of platforming and kill a few enemies, that's the runback.
Yeah.
And
I mean, in a run-based game, that's the entire game, right?
Yeah, exactly. But in something like Hollow Knight, it's like you get to the bench or whatever.
Unless you play on the one permadeath, yeah.
But then the runback is the entire game again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I guess we have mixed opinions on this. Do you want to start, or should I?
Sure, I can start.
Go ahead.
I don't care at all about, like, I don't mind runbacks at all, except for when, so like, for example, I mean, runbacks is, so I play a lot of run-based games at the moment, right? Which means technically a lot of runback, but I just do practice mode stuff, right? Where I can like, so like let's say it's a runback to a boss, I'll just do some practice thing, and I'll practice, and then I'll do the run. Like it's not a big issue, right? Because when I finally do fight it, I have practiced the thing. So it's not, in quotation marks, wasting my time if it's an easy run back, right? So it doesn't matter too much to me that it's an easy run back in a lot of the games I play, but in some games you can't, and I guess it depends on how hard the boss is. So like, it would be very, I think designers realize this as well, because if you look at a lot of the games with long run backs, they usually have sort of an easy boss after the long run back. So if we take Souls games, right?
Yeah.
You haven't played a lot of the later ones, but it's even more obvious in the later ones, like Elden Ring or whatever. So like the really, really, really hard bosses will have no run back. And the like kinda easy bosses, but like a little bit hard, they'll have a lot of run back. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like they balance it like that, but then again, a lot of games have such lenient combat that like the run back is actually completely pointless because it's just running back, right?
Yeah.
I guess it still adds pressure. But I'm only
it depends on how easy it is.
I'm only interested in that pressure when I do the run, right? So that's why I'm saying I think I'm gonna say all, but almost all games should have practice stuff. Like you should be able to like practice the fight or whatever, because that is actually sort of a waste of time sometimes in some games, right? Like if I just die to one move on one boss at the end, right? It's like I just want to figure this move out. It's not that interesting, to be honest with you, that I have to do all of that again to do that move again.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But there are some exceptions, like the one you're gonna bring up, I guess, a little bit, I think. So you can go ahead.
I think, there are definitely runbacks that are sort of a waste of time. And most of the time, that's because the runback isn't like very hard or interesting or anything like that. It's literally just filler content. But I do think that there's like an inherent value in the runback because we've talked about it the entire episode.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
pressure is
a run-based game. Like there's pressure. You need to like you can't just reload to the hard part and do the hard part. You need to like do everything consistently all the way through, and like that's meaningful.
Yeah.
But
sorry to interrupt you, but like and you can say no, I disagree, right? I just want to clarify, right? What do you think? So for me, it's not about like having that stress when I practice. I don't find that interesting. I want that stress when I do the run, right? Or whatever. Like when I do the full checkpoint and like, okay, I am ready to do the full checkpoint, go. And then you do all the challenging parts up to the boss, and then you do the boss and you do all that in one go, and then boom, you're done, right? But it's not it's not that interesting that...
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
There is... I do mostly agree, but there is one argument to be made, and I think it's actually valid.
Yeah.
And that's that having the fear of the run back adds pressure to doing the boss. It's like when you're at the boss, you're like, holy shit, I don't want to do that run back again. Let this be the final try.
Yeah.
And I think that's valuable.
I agree, but I don't know how much I find it valuable when I am figuring out what to do. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but then the argument is that like if you can practice until you beat the boss consistently, then you never get to feel that pressure, right?
Well, I mean, it will still be pressure because you...
Like, yeah, but it's like part of learning the boss. The pressure is part of learning the boss.
Maybe. I don't know. I think it works sometimes. I'm not gonna disagree with you, but I feel like most of the time, this pressure is still there. Especially with run-based games, right? Where it's like, I did 5 stages or 6 stages of game. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you have memorized it, but you're still gonna be pressured after spending 30 minutes, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, look, I can't die now because I will have to redo 30 minutes of game, right? Yeah.
Like, I do think like in a fully run-based game, like that's 30 minutes long or whatever, I do think that, having to replay the entire game to like do the last boss for 2 seconds and then die. That's like maybe not super meaningful, but like there's obviously like a scale there where if the runback isn't too long, then there's actually some value to it. Like,
I mean, we talked about this example before, which is Jump King, right? And I kind of like Jump King, but I still don't quite know how valuable, because we talked about this, like it's essentially a game where you go like you hold the button and then you're like, no, that's not enough, and then you fall down and then you do 10 minutes of gameplay to come back up, and then you hold it again and then like, no, that's too far, fall down, and then you go back up again, and then you hold it again and like, okay, that's right, and then you do the next jump, right? So you're spending 10 minutes per jump because you have to redo jumps. And I mean, it's not because it's not a run back really. It's kind of fast to get back because you just need to learn all the jumps. It's kind of nice and interesting. I think I don't want to throw that completely away, but in a way, thinking about it, right? I still feel like, well, that's kind of a waste of, like, if I wanted to learn this game, this is not the fastest way, right? It's slower than the optimal way to learn this game. Because it would be more optimal to just learn, like, do all the jumps, right? I guess that's my point.
Yeah. But there is one game.
I mean, there's more than one.
Yes, but
sorry.
that does runbacks very, very, very well. And it's not a combat game. It's the good old classic, Getting Over It with Bennett Fodder. And for those of you who haven't played it, it's like a silly 2D platformer where you like swing a hammer and you push yourself around and drag yourself around with the hammer. And that game is very brutal in the way that like it's a completely run-based game, right? So you're playing from, I mean, you can quit and like return from where you like quit the game and whatever, but like you don't die in the game. When you fall, you like fall down the mountain that you're climbing and you're like actually losing progress. And so I think Getting Over It does runbacks really, really well. And I think the reason why it works so well is because it adds, you know, as I mentioned before, like it adds a bunch of tension. Like if you're doing a hard jump, you're not only focusing on doing the hard jump, you're also focusing on like, holy shit, if I miss this jump, I'm gonna fall all the way back to the start.
Yeah.
Often it's not all the way back to the start, but like that's a hypothetical thing that could happen actually.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think you're giving it a little bit too little credit here, because like so this is gonna be a very specific example, so it's gonna be hard if people haven't played it, but you know the like table by the mountain that you need to do
with the orange?
Yeah, with the orange.
Yeah.
So there is more than like it's not only that, oh god, I'm gonna fall down. It's sort of like you're scared to do the jump correctly because it's actually easier to fall down when you're doing it correctly, if that makes sense. Like doing the leap, like you're trying to like not leap too hard because you don't want to fall down, or like pressure. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So you're like being a bit of a coward to not fall down, but it's causing you to fall down, if that makes sense. You need to be brave, basically.
Yeah.
And it's so in that sense, yes, that is interesting. But I also feel like that game has a lot of space where you don't lose a lot of progress, right?
Yeah, like it's a lot of time. It is like you don't lose too much progress; you only lose a little.
Yeah.
But the thing, of course, we're talking about the runbacks. So the reason I think that the runbacks, if you want to call them that, in Getting Over It work so well, is because the game like showcases your mastery so much in a way. It's like I like to say this example a lot. I think the first run I did in Getting Over It took like 5 hours. The second run I did took 15 minutes. Yeah. And it's like...
But that's also... sorry, you finish first.
Yeah, like that's like what mastery looks like. There's like nothing more satisfying than like doing the first run and then immediately starting the second run and like doing it in 15 minutes without like even breaking a sweat. It's like super, super, super satisfying. And I think that's sort of the reason why the runbacks work, because when you're good at that game, it's like really, really fast. And you know, you get that with a lot of other games. You know, you talked about Dark Souls earlier, and like the first playthrough is on average 20 to 40 hours or whatever, and like oftentimes the second playthrough is like 5 to 10 maybe. But like Getting Over It is very extreme in that sense, where it's like when you're first starting out, you're like a complete noob, you're fumbling about, you don't know what you're doing, but like when you actually know the game, like the movement is really good. It's really like it feels smooth, it feels fluid, and it's like super nice, and you're just flying through the air.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the runbacks work, because it like one, because they're not too long, but because like even if you fall all the way back to the mountain, down bottom of the mountain, you don't lose too much progress. But also because like it showcases how far you've come, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I was basically gonna say the same thing, but a bit differently. Mm-hmm. That I think it's like you said, it takes 15 minutes the second time, and you can do the game even faster. I think the run back in quotation marks in this case is actually not really an issue, because it only takes skill to get back, right? Mm-hmm. It's really fast, whereas in a lot of games, what people refer to as run back is actually taking time as well. Yeah. And I don't know if I like that. Like if it takes skill, that's fine, because if it takes skill, you're gonna get good at it to the point where it's just like some falling. Like for example, I don't know how you feel, but like in Getting Over It, falling down in some spots is not even like you don't really care. Like, oh, whoops, I fell down here, right? It's like okay, because you like that part is not even like it take. I mean, you might fail at some jump, but it's not too bad, right?
Yeah.
But in some games, it's like it's literally like 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of running, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No meaningful content, right? It's like you're just walking. You're transporting yourself back to the boss. And that's not interesting. No. What's interesting is that there's like gameplay between you and the boss that you need to read. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to say today before we go?
I mean, always. But there's always more stuff to say, but I think we can save the rest.
Yeah, we can save it for another episode. So, thank you all.
You need to summarize.
What?
We need to summarize.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, my bad. I'm way too fast here. Yeah, so, to summarize, the moral of the story for today is that you do have time for hard games. Hard games aren't a waste of time. They are meaningful. Yes. And one point I want to make very, very clear is that not making progress equals making progress because you're getting better at the game. Yes. And that's meaningful and it's not a waste of time.
Good stuff.
Yes. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yes. Watch our old videos. We've talked about this before. It's good stuff.
Yes. Like and
subscribe. Leave comments. Leave a comment. Send us nice and mean messages.
Yes.
About stuff. Your favorite hard games.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.